Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Ethiopian Show. I am here with William Hamilton,
Hello, everyone.
and we have some very exciting news. We've reached 100 subscribers on YouTube, which is big news. We're actually at 103 right now. So yeah, next stop, quadruple digits.
Of course.
Of
Very
course.
happy for you. It's a great accomplishment to be there.
Yeah. So we're gonna, and William is one of the most frequent guests. So, I brought him on to celebrate. And we're going to run through some news stories. So to give you guys a quick rundown, we've got AI Instagram models. Will AI replace teachers? The Shamima Begum denied UK citizenship case. The widening gender ideology gap. The benefits of ADHD. And the UK returning stolen items to Ethiopia. So that's the agenda. But first, I want to say announcements. We've got very sexy mugs with a very sexy person on there. I don't know if you guys can see the Athenianos show mugs.
Very good quality. You should start up one of the shops where you start selling your merch.
I know. When I get to 500, then I can put it on the official
Nice.
YouTube page so people will be able to buy it. And then we'll get like hats and hoodies and,
all the good stuff.
Yeah. And as many of you guys know, we are back on Instagram. Not happy about it, but we're doing it. Yeah, I just kind of said it all in a post, but I figure a good way to reach people, and the goal is to bring them to the YouTube, right? It's not to be Instagram. What is it called now?
What, the reels?
No. Like when you're like really big on Instagram.
Instagrammer? I don't know. You're an Instagrammer.
Is it a not a follower, like a influencer?
No, influencer. Yeah,
Influencer. That's what it's called. Yeah.
No, I don't want to go down that
Don't
road.
want to go down that road. But speaking of Instagram influencers, I think we should turn to our first story. Meet the world's hottest model catching the eye of famous footballers, MMA fighters, and billionaires. But is it all what it seems? Emily Pellegrini, I wonder if she's Italian.
No, it's not what it seems, by the way. Spoiler.
Yeah, you can see. Oh, you've got the very nice picture on the back.
Yeah.
No,
Show
the
it.
back of that one.
Oh. Is it what it seems? I don't think so.
She's amassed Instagram following of 123,000 followers in 4 months. She has regularly offered dates in expensive restaurants and offered holidays. And she's earned $10,000 already from her Instagram. So she's making bank from Instagram.
Yeah.
But there's a catch. She's completely fake. She's AI generated. But nobody really knew. So they were sending her all these DMs and, liking her photos, liking her account, thinking she was a real person. So I don't know if you guys can see. We'll put a real photo up there, but I don't know if they can hear, by the way, on the Instagram thing.
Oh, yeah, it's not connected there.
No. Well, anyway, we'll upload a better audio if you can hear. And I don't know if you're still on this, but anyway. So yes, she's an Instagram model, AI, but nobody knew. So William, what do you think about this?
Well, yeah, it's pretty unsettling, I suppose, when you get to it. I wonder what this is done as a social experiment kind of thing by some random people or the AI. It says what? I asked ChatGPT what the average man's dream girl is, and it said brown hair and long legs, so I made her exactly how it said. So I guess they used an image generation thing. These are quite good image generations. The ones you used to get, at least I used a while ago, were not particularly good. But
where can this go?
Exponential increase, yeah.
So,
I was saying there's the new Sora AI, yeah, if anyone saw that with I saw a side-by-side looking at how the video generators were just like a few months ago versus the new model now. And it is night and day. It's completely...
But there are people out there who want to be Instagram influencers, right? By like, looking really good in front of the camera, whatever. But is this gonna like fuck all that up for them?
Pretty much, I think. I mean, I think especially with the, TikTok style reels and everything that's getting attention, this is slightly different. But you can just AI generate all this stuff. You already see like some of these posts which they have the robot voice, and it's some kind of, the ones I get, I don't know, like weird motivational ones, like stoic
Really?
stoic quotes or something, or they're totally AI generated. But they're just getting better and better at this because they, it's again, the AI knows exactly what you want. It's already programmed the type of videos you want you to see. The next step is just it makes them for you, because that's that's going to be even more accurate to, keep you using the platform as much as possible,
Okay, couple questions.
which is the ultimate goal.
What is this gonna do to the porn industry?
The point. Oh, yeah, that's that's gonna have a probably big effect. I mean, yeah, some weird legal implications. If you just get like a random, you can have any person on the screen superimposed over in a VR type situation.
I mean, they're already doing like the celebrity deep fakes, right? With
yeah,
AI.
yeah.
Like Taylor Swift had there was a big one with Taylor Swift, some other celebrity recently. But I mean, I don't think we're that far off, right? From like really vulgar,
Yeah, no, not at all.
like the porn industry being completely taken over by AI.
Yeah, I mean, obviously most of the AIs have like safe, locks and everything that you can't do vulgar stuff in, but I guess the higher ups who actually have control, or if you're like well versed enough in the AI to actually get in the source code and make your own, you can definitely like make it up. And the porn industry is one of the biggest industries actually all around, so they definitely
it?
have the resources for it. Yeah, you'd be surprised. In terms of like top trafficked internet sites, like top 10, I think something ridiculous like half of them are porn sites, you know what I mean? It's porn and social media. That's the
Okay,
all of the internet traffic where it's going to.
and what is this gonna do for online dating?
Yeah, that's another interesting one. I mean, what would be the point though to use it?
Well,
in
could
online dating?
girls or guys, I guess, right? Or whoever manipulate their like Tinder profiles?
I mean, yeah, but obviously the kind of the illusion breaks down when you meet in person. Right? It can only get you so far.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Have you ever used the? I don't know. Maybe that's too personal.
No, I've never used any of the dating apps.
I've I used it for one day as a social experiment, and I hated it.
Yeah.
And one of the things I found was that I just like generally was not attracted to anybody online.
Well, that's surprising. I feel, but
No, like I don't know. Like there was a huge disconnect for me between in person and online.
Oh, okay.
That
But like, I mean, I don't know. It's photos, so it's obviously a different kind of thing. But or what are you? Are you a personality person?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm just super deep, but I couldn't. Like I think, in my opinion, people tend to be very shallow on these types of apps, especially when it
Well,
comes to online.
that is sort of the point of most of the apps. They're literally marketed and expressed as a casual kind of hookup dating app. So it's not really particularly surprising. I
Right, but
guess.
suppose you enhance your profile to like with AI and whatever, and then you go on the date and you're like whatever less of what the AI had. Chances are the person is not going to care that much.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, what would actually help more on the dating app, which I've seen, I remember seeing a few videos of this where they just like use again GPT type stuff to like give me a conversation starter, give me a good pickup line, and then they just pretend you're in the conversation and they give what the other person responds and feed it into GPT,
Really?
and GPT's just doing the work for that. That would probably be more effective, to be fair. I mean, if you get a because I mean, in the end, that's what's your look can only get you so far. I imagine in the dating apps.
Okay, third question. Is there a big difference between this and Instagram models who are, let's say, in a lot of ways, fake? Meaning, like
enhanced versus
enhanced.
completely fake.
Yeah. Like, if you're a person and you've had so much work done on your appearance, right? What's like, there's obviously a difference because it's a person versus a fake image, but on Instagram, is there a big difference?
Well, I'd say it does feel like the natural extension, I guess, you know. So the goal with Instagram is always to present a hyper fictional sort of, super unrealistic version of the most perfect you can possibly get it to. And I mean, if you can make it for a completely fake, get that extra 2% in, why not? Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, yeah, I guess that's a good point. Um, okay, let's move on. Wonder she's Italian. I wonder if that was factored in the
She's not
name.
real, bro.
I know, but I wonder if they're like, ooh,
Yeah, maybe GPT said, when you fed the
Italian
prompt,
women are
it had to
better.
be an Italian.
An Italian woman, because Italians have the best looks.
Of course, of course.
Although they clearly didn't consult, the GPT didn't factor in the Greeks. So,
Yeah, I don't know. The AI doesn't lie. The AI has all the data from all the people, so it knows much more.
okay, let's move to the next second AI story, second and last. AI likely to spell end of traditional school classroom, leading expert says. This is from The Guardian. Recent AI advances in AI are likely to spell the end of traditional classroom, one of the leading experts on AI has predicted. It goes on to say the technology can feasibly deliver most material through to the end of high school, he said. Education is the biggest benefit that we can look for in the next few years. Blah, blah, blah. It ought to be possible within a few years, maybe by the end of this decade, to be delivering a pretty high quality of education to every child in the world. That's potentially transformative. And then this prospect may prompt reasonable fears among teachers and teaching unions of fewer teachers employed, possibly even none, Russell said. Human involvement would still be essential, he predicted, but could be drastically different from the traditional role of a teacher, potentially incorporating playground monitor responsibilities, facilitating more complex collective activities, and delivering civic and moral education. All right, so here's my question for you about this. There seems to be the positive that you can really, because there is a shortage of teachers in a lot of places, like Kenya and Nigeria. I was doing
Yeah.
some research into this over the summer. Like, there's a huge, they're really, in South Africa, they're really trying to train teachers and get teachers qualified because then they can have more kids in school and, educate people, right? And kids that are not in school are much, less likely to succeed in various aspects of their life. So you could potentially alleviate that problem with AI to bring quality education access to, you know, exponentially more people because you don't need the teacher. But at the same time, right, the negative of that is you're you're unemploying like a huge percentage of the population, and a lot of people like teachers are very important, and that's
Yeah.
they want to be teachers and that's their life goal. So how do you? I mean, what's your reaction to this story?
Yeah, well, I'm a little skeptical of this. I think generally, obviously, AI is going to have like a big impact on almost anything. I mean, education is not going to be an exception at all. But I think what this misses out is that I guess school isn't just about the education. I don't think one of the major aspects, the reason that we need schools is for socialization. You know, not just among other children, but with the teacher as well, to provide a positive role model and all this stuff. That's sort of actually almost the primary goal of school, almost above education, I'd say. That's why I guess I've never really understood the concept of homeschooling. I find it kind of weird. Like what are you doing there? It's like the child needs to be with the community at large, and especially in how we've designed a society now in urbanization, all that, there's virtually no community support. With a nuclear family, it's all very isolated. It can get so it's essential to have these social spaces.
I mean, but what if you do something where you have like you ensure there's a bunch of extracurricular activities that are free and accessible to people, like sports, clubs, arts and crafts, like things like that to facilitate that community experience. And just I mean, you don't even need it. You can still have a classroom, right? But no teacher, and have to have kids learn that way too, right? Or you could do it in an outdoor space.
I mean, kids are a bit stupid though, they need they need supervision, I think.
Mm.
It's not like you can just let kids do whatever and they'll somehow be able to do it all on their own. They need a structured curriculum. They need, well, tests, I guess. I mean, if we're sticking to that, of course. And I mean, the school system has been changing for a while. I guess it's the stuff you need to focus on is becoming less and less important. Like, for instance, I'm from Italy, and like the Italian education system is way backwards. It's a very old model that's like the main focus is just memorization. Just memorize all these dates and facts, and then you present them in front of class.
Mm-hmm.
And that's crazy. I mean, before AI, just with the internet, already this whole process becomes completely obsolete. There's no point in memorizing all this stuff when you can, in the old days you had to memorize it because that's what made you intelligent. The only access you had to books were, in your local library or something. Every time I do find it crazy that if you need to fact check something, you have to like consult the encyclopedia or something. Whereas now we just have instant access to anything. In Wikipedia. So, well, I think the Italian school system is quite stuck there. And I mean, I think, it's the transition from all schooling systems that sort of like the focus of what the education is has to change in terms of focusing less on, memorization and less about like kind of knowing specific stuff and more about kind of a developmental process, like a mindset of wanting to learn.
Yeah. Okay, 2 more questions about this. But surely AI can really actually help teachers, right? Number one, I can see it being really instrumental in helping qualified teachers, because that's one of the big problems is getting teachers qualified, and not just qualifying them, but having them continually go through professional development. If you can like digitalize these things so that people can have professional developments and also personal methods for qualification, then you can maybe rapidly increase the amount of teachers that you have for people. So it seems like some people are saying that it could spell the end of teachers. It could also be really beneficial toward teachers. I mean, imagine you have all this material, right, that you need to cover, and you're trying to work out a lesson plan.
Yeah.
Isn't there technology right now where you can put that
Generate
all the
them, yeah.
material and it generates a lesson plan for
I
you?
mean, that's the whole point of AI. I think that's the where it's going. How it's supposed to is it replaces sort of the menial work. A friend told me this, and I think it's the best way to use like the GPT AIs, especially, is sort of as a sort of very dumb like secretary, like an assistant, who you kind of can unload all the menial kind of organizational stuff and get that out of the way. But when it comes to actually doing the stuff, you need to put your effort in. So the thing is, it's supposed to be a good thing, of course, because no one wants to do the menial stuff. No one likes doing this stuff, not really. But of course, because of the way society is structured, the whole economy depends on people doing these menial jobs. So that's really where the big kind of overturn is happening, where we're just not adapted for this change.
And then here's one more question. It's kind of unrelated to AI, but relates to schools. In my opinion, a lot of the material that you learn inside classrooms, and by the way, I'll say this, guys, the UK classroom system is much less hands-on than the US classroom system. Okay, in the US, your contact hours and the amount of time you spend in the class is way longer than in the UK. In the UK, I mean, I
went to British school. It was what, 9 to 3:20?
No, I'm saying universities.
Universities, okay.
Universities. So like in the university, I have 2 hours per class.
Yeah, I mean we're humanities students. So
no, but I mean like I literally 6 hours a week in.
So yeah, I have only 4 hours a week. I mean,
Really?
yeah.
Oh yeah, no, me too, because of this.
Dissertation, yeah.
But usually it's 6, right? That's been standard. So the lectures, and a lot of times they'll record the lectures. The first 2 years you had lectures online. And actually, to be honest, the lectures are not that substantive.
No, not really. It's YouTube video type stuff.
Right. That's
really, yeah.
that's where I was going. Like,
Yeah.
like what impact does YouTube and other like platforms have on educational services? Because I mean, it seems like you could put together a course solely through YouTube, and like that person, obviously, they won't get the same. You good?
Yeah.
We wouldn't get the same qualification because it just wouldn't be looked at the same. But material wise, like, I mean, I think that you could theoretically have a person go through an entire program through YouTube and come out with just as much knowledge, if not more, than somebody who's sitting through
Yeah.
lectures. I mean, to me, that's a huge. And I've even had, I'm not going to name names, but Patrick, lecturers who post they're like who are like, subscribe to my YouTube channel where I post my lecture.
Oh yeah, Patrick and did one time last year when there were the strikes. No, 2 years ago there were the strikes, and there was one week in which he couldn't do the lectures because it was skipped, and he said like, I remember he told us, I may or may not have a YouTube video on my channel which is just the lectures that you exactly need. I can't point them towards you, but they are just there. And so, yeah, I mean, you could have the entire content on a YouTube video. I mean, the difficult thing is discriminating. Like, if you're someone who's not a student at a university, I think that's kind of the purpose of universities, to give like a structured and discriminating kind of thing. Because, I mean, there is a lot of bullshit on YouTube. There is a lot of like complete nonsense on YouTube. Especially, I mean, for me in philosophy, I'd say it's like very difficult to find like an actual high quality philosophy YouTube channel. Like a lot of the pop philosophy ones are not very good.
No, I was saying, but no, but what is stopping universities or university professors from just recording all their lectures, which in Edinburgh at least, all the lecture theaters pretty much are equipped with that technology, taking the videos, starting their own YouTube channel, and just putting them all up on YouTube? Like, what is stopping them from doing that?
Nothing really. And I mean, what I've seen at least in in Edinburgh, in the philosophy department, they're actually changing the curriculum like quite a bit. And a lot of the approach I've seen in this year's courses is they try like a flipped classroom format, where instead of it's the professor giving lectures to the students and then the students take down notes, it's sort of the students ask questions to the professors and they kind of like talk about the stuff together, which at least it's more useful, I'd say, talking with other students about, especially again philosophy. It's all about the talking really and interacting and testing out your ideas, I guess.
But I mean, in a lecture of 200,
yeah, I mean, it only works in the small rooms.
What percentage of people there are just zoned out? Like I'm being serious. Like, how many people out of that 200 are actually engaged? And like I'm serious.
No, yeah.
Or not, like, even people who are taking notes, if you're just sitting there like on your computer taking notes, everything from the slide. Like,
oh yeah, it's mindless note taking.
You're like getting all the notes down, but you're not absorbing anything. You're not engaged.
Dude, I always think about this with like, so the IQ curve. I've seen this meme where you have like the top and the bottom, and the bottom is like, I don't take notes, low IQ take. Then the middle IQ take is, wow, I take notes a lot. And then you get to the high IQ take. I don't take notes anymore. There's no point. I mean, because obviously it's a simplification, but I do feel like a lot of times when people are taking notes, you're like not even listening to the material anymore. So like you're recording it, but it's never, you're not quick enough to record the actual substance, and you need to like think over what is being said, and you just don't have the time when you're writing fast.
And you just get nothing.
Yeah.
You just get nothing. I mean, so like, I don't see any reason why that process can't be YouTubeized. I think generally, like, these individual channels, like if all the professors got together and said, you know what, we're gonna individualize this stuff, and take our content, because who the fuck do you university have to like,
Yeah.
have sole access to my lecture abilities and my teaching ability? Like, I'm gonna co-opt this stuff and spread it to a much wider audience and potentially make money from it. I don't.
I mean, the way the universities work is, again, like most in the same vein as the AI. It's like a relic from the past. I mean, in the past, the whole point of universities was just they had all the books, right? So
Right.
the point, going to university was to get access to the books. That was the only reason you'd go. But now, you literally have every single book on your fingertips in the internet.
I mean, look at what the fuck is his name? The guy from Toronto,
Which guy?
Jordan Peterson.
What about him?
I think he got like famous from uploading all his lectures online, and like
Oh yeah, I mean,
that's how he became like
I think most of his fame doesn't probably come from his academic lectures. It's more from his culture war stance, I think. But yeah, I mean, I think the thing is, in theory, you could get everything, all the knowledge that you could get from a university degree and not like take the university degree. That is true in theory, but in practice, how many people are going to be bothered to do it in like a whole structured performance? It's when you pay for like the university tuition, I guess you pay for like the structure, you pay for the curriculum and the kind of forcing you to actually engage properly and get a degree that proves you've done it as well in the end.
I will say though, like, this is going to put more pressure on the universities to prove, because it's not cheap by any means of the stretch, right? For a lot of people, especially in the U.S. I mean, the U.S. is like
ridiculous,
out of this world, right? So I feel like they're gonna have to do more to prove that the product they're offering is actually worth it.
I mean, I think the thing is with the university, they become bloated as well. The concept, it's nowadays it's you get a university degree in order to get a job. It's like seen as a prerequisite to get a job, and I mean that's completely backwards in my opinion. I don't think that higher education should be a means to an end, and that's I think why you get a lot of people who are kind of dismissive of all the humanities subjects, especially like why are you taking philosophy? What job are you gonna get with philosophy? Like, bro, I'm not. I don't do it to get like a job, right? It's good in its own sake, That's the only reason you should be studying, really. If you're studying something to get a job, then it's more of like a kind of trade school or something. It's not an academy in the original sense.
But like, think about it too. Like, if somebody has this one product and nobody else can offer this product, right? And they've monopolized it across, they can get away with charging ridiculous amount because it's necessary in our society, right? Let's face it. I think we're moving a little bit away from that potentially, but as it's been like to get, it's like, oh, you must have an undergraduate degree to have a good career and whatever. And so they can monopolize that, right? But now you're kind of having this other force that's like, maybe it's not there yet, but it is kind of like, hang on.
Yeah, I mean that's the reason it comes up, because they want they want money in the end, right? So they kind of, the universities always marketed that, they push the narrative of like, oh, this will help you get jobs. This is for getting jobs,
right?
But it's contrary to the spirit of universities. They shouldn't be doing that in the first place.
But I mean, I wonder if this new technology and this new kind of platform will bring the price down, because universities are like, we need to compete more.
Yeah, but the reason you pay for universities, I was saying, it's not for the con, it's for the degree. It's the degree. Yeah. It's the degree. It's what employers like, I guess, from the university, if you want to be kind of strict about it, is they like that you've been to a place for 3 years, you've shown up, and you've kind of done the bare minimum. That's some assurance that you're gonna be like okay in a job, I suppose. Yeah. But again, you don't need to do university for that. You could have like trade. You could have like a lot of different things, and I guess. I mean, obviously, I think university shouldn't be a private institution. I think that's pretty, self-evidently, why are we doing that? It shouldn't be the case. And that alleviates some of the problems, but yeah.
Yeah, all right. Let's move on to the third story. People are still watching. I'm shocked at this. I'm shocked that people are actually watching. All right. The Shamima Begum case. This is from today, from the BBC.
Ooh.
She loses the bid to regain UK citizenship. So it says, Shamima Begum has lost an appeal against the decision to revoke the UK citizenship. The Court of Appeal ruling means the 24-year-old must remain in Syria. The government stripped her citizenship on national security grounds in 2019. Mrs. Begum left London 9 years ago, aged 15, to travel to Syria and join the Islamic State group, or ISIS. She's one of 3 East London schoolgirls who traveled to Syria in 2015 to support the ISIS group. She married an Islamic State fighter soon after arriving and went on to have 3 children, none of whom survived. Her UK citizenship was stripped on national security grounds in 2019. She remains in a camp controlled by armed guards in northern Syria. Now, in the UK, the government has the power to remove someone's UK citizenship in certain cases. Number 1, if it is for the public good and would not make them stateless. The person obtained citizenship through fraud, and their actions could harm UK interests, and they could claim citizenship elsewhere. So, really importantly, in the UK, you must be able, the person who you revoke their citizenship must be able to have citizenship elsewhere.
Okay.
So you can't make the person stateless.
In any case at all.
In any case at all.
That's interesting.
So in 2020, this was brought up because she didn't have any other citizenship. The tribunal in 2020 ruled that removing her citizenship was lawful because she was a citizen of Bangladesh by descent. So therefore, removing her British nationality would not make her stateless. However, Bangladesh said that was not the case, and that she would not be allowed to return into the country, or not be allowed into the country, full stop. So then in 2021, the Supreme Court decided she couldn't return to the UK to appeal the decision. And then in 2023, the lawyers for Mrs. Begum challenged the removal of citizenship by the Special Immigrations Appeal Commission. That was denied. And then they did say that while there was credible suspicion that Mrs. Begum was a victim of trafficking and sexual exploitation, that did not stand in the way of the Home Secretary stripping her of her British citizenship, as she had become a threat. And then very recently, the decision was upheld at the Court of Appeals in February 2024. She could still appeal it to the Supreme Court, but they said that she, quote, she may well have been influenced and manipulated by others, but still have made a calculated decision to travel to Syria in line with the Islamic State. As of note to my U.S. listeners, the U.S.-born citizens cannot, under any circumstances, have their citizenship revoked because citizenship is a birthright guaranteed in the U.S.
What about Edward Snowden?
He's still a U.S. citizen.
No, he's stateless. I'm pretty sure he's stateless. Thought they revoked the citizenship. Might be wrong.
Apparently, under the U.S. Constitution, you cannot revoke somebody's birthright citizenship. If they're naturalized, you can do it, but not birthright. Okay, so this is an interesting.
Yeah.
This is going to be interesting. I mean, I don't know. I don't think there's an easy right answer, one way or the other. But just give me your initial thoughts on this.
Yeah, well, it's a strange situation. I see sort of like, I guess if you look at it in a rational kind of sense, there's no like obligation that you see like that the state has towards this person. I don't think. I think the only reason really for accepting it back would be sort of an act of kindness. But whether she's deserving of the act of kindness, I suppose, is a pretty individual question, which you can't really
the question
make up. If it's like it would just be an act of kindness to take responsibility for somebody to, be done, something to be done there.
The question is it worth giving her a second chance?
I guess, yeah.
Now, to me, the difficulty is there's no way to prove, in my opinion, that she's completely renounced from that. Like she may be no longer in the group, but it's really hard to prove that she's completely renounced that stuff, right? Like ISIS, and and you obviously have to have a pretty negative attitude of your country to leave and join a terrorist group that wants to destroy that country.
Yeah.
right? So you leave. Think about it. You leave a country to go to join a group that wants to destroy that country, and then later ask to.
Well, I imagine if she did come back, it's not like she'd be free to go wherever. You know, I assume she'd have to go to, prison or at least a rehabilitational center or something.
That's actually I haven't heard anybody talk about that, but that would be an interesting like thing. Like, couldn't she come back, but then have to go through like be on
Yeah, I mean that's what I've assumed. It'd be a bit strange just to let her, no questions asked, or you were in a terrorist organization. It's okay.
Well, that was kind of my take. Is she would just be released into like society.
Yeah, I mean that of course not. I mean, does anyone actually want that? That seems a little bit too
I
obviously.
mean, but what if she was like not brainwashed, but obviously very strongly manipulated by propaganda.
Yeah, I mean it's possible, but you'd have to verify that. Can't just take it on take it on good word, I suppose.
I mean, look, it's a tough case. I think, like you said, rationally, if you just think about this rationally, the UK has no obligation to let her back in. But I think if you are willing to give people grace and a second chance and redemption, uh, then I think you let her back in. Now that doesn't mean, like you said, you know, give her the keys to her flat and here
Yeah.
go. But I mean, I wonder, and I'm just spitballing here, right? So I think her parents are Bengali immigrants from
Mm.
from Bangladesh. Do you think the case would be different if she was like a French descendant or a German descendant or even like British, full stop?
Um. Well, I think there'd definitely be sort of more gut reaction. I think to give like a second chance, but still pretty it's still pretty. I think those aren't the intrinsic facts and the important facts. Obviously, it's not like you would be let off the hook for joining ISIS if you were white.
Mm.
But certainly, I think some people, you might just have a different intuition, gut feeling at the beginning. More likelihood, I guess, to forgive. Probably.
Now in Italy, you guys have what's it's the one where like so in the U.S. if you're born in the U.S. you're guaranteed citizenship. In Italy, it's by blood, right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure. It might be born as well. And I'm not actually. Yeah, you might be right. You might be right. It's not. It's definitely blood to express
I mean,
that.
what do you think? Should countries have the right to revoke citizenship? Because in the U.S. they do not. In the UK, they do.
Yeah, no, I don't think they should actually. It's better to not be able to do that.
Really?
Yeah, there's I think too much power for a government to have because your passport, your citizenship is like important for your freedom of movement in general. You need it for like a whole host of things.
I mean,
And
what about like espionage?
what do you mean?
Like the person, passes government secrets to foreign like enemies.
Oh, then surely just be arrested though, right? I mean,
I suppose. I guess that's actually a good question. Like, why can't you just arrest the person?
yeah, I mean, yeah,
Like,
that's
you're telling me that like this person is more dangerous than you know a person who's killed five people.
yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't really see any like um way in which it's a fair like kind of punishment.
I mean, she committed a crime,
Yeah, yeah,
right? Uh, she wants to. She's expressed a willingness to, repent and second chance. I think the fair thing to do is let her back in. Uh, whatever the judge decides is a fair penalty. I wouldn't. She was a minor when this happened, so I wouldn't. I don't think like life in prison is a fair.
yeah. Probably.
I don't want to. I don't want to like say that I don't know the UK court system, and I don't want to like say what I think would be a fair because don't know that much about the case.
Same.
But yeah, I mean, I think the right thing to do is to let her, especially she's right now in Syria at a like a
Where was she being held? Yeah, what by who?
what did they say? Oh, I think I flipped it to the other page. She's she remains in a camp controlled by armed guards in northern Syria. I mean, they don't say what kind of armed guards. I imagine if she has a lawyer and she's appealing to come back to the UK. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like,
well, by the Syrian government.
Maybe. But yeah, I mean,
well, it does, I guess, raise the question of, does just her being a citizen, why should that give her give her a better opportunity than like all the other people in Syria who are probably suffering similar situations?
Like, let's say somebody from Syria who was never a UK citizen and now no longer wants to be a UK citizen but wants to seek refuge in the UK.
Yeah. Why
they would never get in?
Yeah, they would never. Why should we privilege? To be fair, like this person, just because she was born here,
Somebody made a very interesting case that I think is, I don't agree with a lot of what they say, but I think they bring up an interesting point about citizenship and like youth. Like when you're kind of born with your country's citizenship, should there be some kind of system? Like, because when you become a citizen of another country, you have to go through a test and you have to prove your loyalty to that country.
Yeah.
Should there be something in place for people who are born, maybe not as severe, but some kind of thing where they have to prove...
Well, immediately after birth to the baby, would you?
No, but like when they're, I don't know, when they're 18 or
I mean, what happens if they fail a test? You just deport them.
Well, maybe like you're still a minor then.
You don't gain. I mean, yeah, it does sound a little bit, surely I should have the right to, hate my country if I want to, I suppose, I shouldn't be facing consequences of any kind.
Good point. It could get pretty bad, like, like think about like, how many bad people there have been in power. That could get manipulated pretty quickly.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, the whole idea of loyalty test is already a little bit suspicious to me. I mean, what kind of loyalty tests are they using? Like,
it's like in the U.S. It's like how well do you know U.S. Basically, like a U.S. history test.
Oh, okay. I mean,
like a U.S. pop culture test too.
I mean, I feel like most U.S. citizens would probably fail.
Oh no, 100%. I would probably. I tell you what. I think in the U.S. they should require people to pass a constitution test at 18.
A constitution test. Well, probably most would fail that as well. I mean,
actually, I don't know if I agree with that because that could get like, because depending on your education level, right? Like, I don't think we're at a place where we could do that now because there's such a huge gap in education quality across, like, depending on your socioeconomic status. So I think that would just end up perpetuating like huge levels of inequality, especially among racial groups.
Yeah. But I used to think when I was sort of a teenager that the best voting system would be, one where you take a test for the right to vote.
Yeah.
I was like, you only want the informed people to vote. But yeah, it's sort of this idea that you have, I think that a lot of people sometimes have, I think, where it's just like, if only the world was run by sort of intelligent people, then all the problems would be fixed.
But here's the thing, right?
Intelligence doesn't fix like moral values, and I mean all the political questions are about moral values, fundamentally what you should do. And no matter how intelligent you are, it doesn't give you the guarantee at all that your moral values are going to be better. If you think about sort of back in like medieval times, all the intelligent people, of course, were the the royalty and these people. And I mean, when you kind of see them going around, you look at like the common folk, you can imagine this guy thinking he's completely justified in thinking, well, of course monarchy is good. These people are fucking stupid. Look at them. they're doing nothing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, yeah, it doesn't give you the perspective. It's sort of like the experience is necessary.
Well, that was Plato's whole like just lie, where you had to lie to all the people.
Oh yeah. What is it with the minerals?
The coins, the coin, or like basically in Plato's Republic, he says you separate the classes between the rulers, the guardians, and then the regular people, and the regular people can never become the rulers of the state, but you have to lie to them and tell them that they're in their low position, because afterwards they'll receive like a gold coin for being in their position.
Oh yeah. There's also like the myth of like the rocks or something, that people are just a combination of rocks, and fundamentally you're born to, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If you're either born a guardian, or you're born a ruler, or you're born that way, and that's just how it is. Well, yeah, I guess the Indian caste system sort of does that.
I don't know about the caste system.
Well, I know it does that, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think a lot of monarchies and dictatorships have that same kind of thing. Like you're just born that way, and
Yeah, well, I guess
Or-
divine right of kings.
or it's like
Well, yeah, well, in Hinduism you have the Dharma, which obviously in its own on its own is not necessarily like used in this way, but I think a lot of the times how they use it, sort of Dharma, is the duty that you're like born to fulfill, like your spiritual kind of like calling, and it's often just it gets used in the caste system to be like, okay, your Dharma is to be a fisherman, so you just become a fisherman and do your thing. I mean, in the Bhagavad Gita, the whole book is the prince coming to the realization that his dharma is to be a warrior and to kill all his enemies. So it's a very good book though. Sounds
what is it
I don't mean to disparage it. The Bhagavad Gita. It's the Hindu holy book.
Obviously, I'll put that in when I edit this. That'll be in there.
It's the one Oppenheimer quotes after
And
he
his
blows
sex
up the
scene?
bomb. No, yeah, in the film, in the sex scene, yeah.
Oh.
The I am become death, destroyer of worlds. That's basically Krishna, the god, telling the prince that what is it, that he's he's the supreme god, and it doesn't matter what do you say, it doesn't matter if like the amount of death that you cause in the battle, because I am the one who ultimately causes death, and you're just fulfilling your duty. You've done nothing wrong. It's my bad, I guess.
Yeah, well, seems like that could justify a lot of bad things.
Yeah, definitely can be used that way.
Okay, let's move to the fourth story. This one came out earlier this month. A wide ideology gap is opening up between young men and women in countries across the world. Political ideology of 18 to 29, percentage liberal, percentage conservative, or percentage liberal minus percentage conservative by sex. So as you can see in all cases, it's particularly apparent in South Korea. Actually, it's the most apparent. But somewhere in the last 10 to 5 years, young men have become way more conservative, and young women have become more liberal. It's true in the U.S. Actually, interesting in the U.S., it's true that young men have become more conservative.
No, I can see it. It's mostly the women like becoming more liberal. It seems to be the general trend. Like except in South Korea, where them for some reason, the men just have a massive dip. If you can see the charts here, it's quite quite strange. Yeah. It's the only one. But in the US, UK, and Germany, it's the women becoming more liberal, and the men it's only like slightly more conservative.
That's actually interesting, because I would have thought that like with the whole like the what is it called? like the Andrew Tate type of people.
Oh, Sigma male types.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That would have, but no, it looks like the women are. I mean, maybe there's an Andrew Tate guy dude in South Korea who I don't know about who's like,
Yeah, the South Korean Andrew Tate.
um, but yeah, I mean, in Germany it's pretty much flat for men. The UK it hasn't really changed that much, and the US been a little more conservative, but yeah, South Korea. But the women have gone way more liberal.
Yeah.
And of course, this is according to Financial Times and Gallup. So, what do you make of this?
Um, yeah, well, as I was noting before as well, I was thinking I'm not sure how much this data like kind of can reflect. It would be interesting to see like if you added a bit more range than liberal and conservatives, like if you're a bit more radical than that, which I do think there is some data. I don't like obviously have it out here, but there is some data to support that young people in general are getting like much more radicalized than um previous generations. But more radical types aren't likely to describe themselves as conservative or liberal, especially more far right types might like still call themselves conservatives, especially with like the far left types. They, hate liberals like more than they even hate conservatives, and sometimes it's
So, you mean like socialists and communists?
yeah, yeah.
So, what would be the more fair, more accurate survey? You would have more like, would it be to kind of ask people to put themselves on a left right spectrum,
Yeah, maybe I think that
or
might be the better.
or do you go by like issues? So like, you know, uh, reproduction rights, um, LGBTQ rights. Um, I mean, I don't know,
Immigration, yeah, all the good stuff.
immigration. Because I don't think this is economic. Like, I don't really think this is. And
Well, yeah, I mean, especially when you use like liberal and conservative, it seems I think it's mostly the associations with culture war stuff
culture, right?
generally. Yeah, I mean,
Because most conservatives are neoliberalists.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I think this is cool. I mean,
I mean, I think with like kind of social media and the internet and all this the culture war stuff is the main driver. Like more and more you see this. It's all culture war stuff. Those are the real issues that people care for
yeah.
some reason. I don't think people ultimately care about this, but it's what they pretend to care about. When they sort of talk about politics, it's the one thing that gets them going.
I mean, I saw this interesting. I can't believe people are still watching us.
Hell yeah.
um, I guess we're just so interesting.
Yeah, man, 100 subscribers. It's
103
start of
subscribers. I mean, you didn't get there for nothing, or
the
we didn't.
the
I
least
didn't get there.
loyal Ethiopianos show watchers. I hear.
The least loyal.
No, it means the most loyal. It's just it's a meme. You don't get it. Whatever.
No, this is anyway. Help us get to 1,000 so we can live stream on YouTube. That'll be so much better. And so I can start making money on the show.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we can get really nice equipment and give back to the community. Obviously,
That's the main goal. That's the main goal.
obviously. No, I saw some. This is like a. She is like the relationship. She's like a young woman. Name is like Freya India, but she's amassed a huge following by like basically talking about women's issues and women's relationship issues, and she's a huge following. And one of the things she's like very much like anti-online dating.
Mm.
We need face to face. We need physical contact. The young people are in a crisis because they're not having sex. They're not having like
Yeah.
intimacy.
Well, yeah, that is a big problem. To be fair, the numbers on that are pretty shocking.
Are they?
There's a yeah. I don't remember off the top of my head, but the increase in people not having had a relationship by the age they're like young people, like in 20 and everything, has gone like way up. Or never having had sex, all this stuff, or never even just like not having close friends has gone up like by a crazy amount.
Yeah.
Spending time alone, like not average hugs a day even has gone down like ridiculous amounts. It's yeah. I mean, obviously COVID worsened this, but the trend was before COVID as well. COVID only seemed to exacerbate the already
Side
bad
side note,
situation.
which country do you think is the most physical in their friendships?
Mm, I'm not sure really. It would probably have to be a nice sunny southern country. Definitely
Southern
not any
country?
of the northern.
No, no.
The friendship is staying 5 feet away from each other.
My flatmate is Danish. I don't know. Maybe you guys some of them know him, Tobias.
Mm.
And so I learned all about Scandinavian culture from him. And it's basically like when you say hi, you just keep your hands here. You don't handshake. You don't hug. There's nothing going on, right? And also he says like silence is a big thing. Like it's totally normal for you to just sit there with a friend and just like having a conversation, and then you just pause and like don't talk for like 3 minutes, and then you just like continue.
To be fair, I think that can be a decent skill. I think a lot of the times, sometimes people are too afraid of like being awkward for a moment. It's like, oh, I
I
must say
I
something.
have that fear. I can't sit there with somebody and just like
Mm.
be quiet because I'm like this is too awkward.
Yeah, well, I think it's a bit of a shame.
It's one of these things. Like leaving places too.
Leaving places.
Like when you're saying goodbye to somebody.
Oh yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah.
like leaving somebody's house or like saying goodbye. Like I
Yeah, I
gotta
always
go.
spend so long. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
been so
Both of us
long.
do this. Yeah, yeah.
Like just being like, because I don't want to just like go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
You gotta like add a little addendum at the end,
yeah,
and then
exactly.
you keep on getting a
Exactly.
better addendum each time.
But anyway, and I remember I was on a walk with Tobias, but right the like right before we became flatmates, and we would like on long hikes, and he would just be so pissed at me, because I'd just be like talking to every single person we passed and like trying to like have a conversation, and he'd just be like, "Shut the fuck up," and walking quiet.
Well, I can kind of. Well, you're American, I guess. It's the complete opposite. I guess Americans are really small talk is like a really big thing.
It's true.
There. I feel.
It's
Yeah.
true. I have some like Slavic and Russian friends, and they're like, yeah, we don't do small talk. Like if you don't have something to say that's meaningful and like to the point, don't fucking say it.
Yeah.
Don't ask me how I am. Don't ask me like, how was my summer? Like if you need something from me, say it. Otherwise,
I sort of get both sides of the kind of discussion, because that's small talk can definitely be annoying, but at the same time, the point of small talk isn't actually like the content of the conversation.
it's to lead to something.
It's feeling the vibe though as well, right? Just understanding sort of like a little bit about sort of interactions between somebody, and leading up to
I-
see whether it's worth like continuing going into deeper talk, because you can't just like start a conversation and be like, oh, what is your opinion on
Yeah.
true love? Obviously not. You have to like lead up to it.
I will say this, and this is just my experience. This could be totally stereotypes and completely wrong, but from my experience, Russians are a lot colder than Ukrainians. Ukrainians, most of my interaction with Ukrainians, it's been like very warm and like small talk and just like chatting nonstop. Whereas with Russians, it's very like short and cold and cut off. That's just my experience, okay? Like I'm not generalizing about the whole populations, but just in my experience, that's how it is.
Yeah. I mean, certainly what you were saying before about which cultures are more touchy-feely. I mean, there's certainly like a big lot of difference, coming from Italy versus UK. Certainly completely different. I mean, you greet everyone in Italy by like kissing on the cheeks and everything.
Yeah.
When I first came here, I tried to do it sometimes and everyone like weirded out. Like, what are you trying to do?
Some people are weirded out here by hugs. And
Bro,
like,
yeah.
or like, like when you're like, saying somebody like you like put your hand out and you like do hold it for a while.
Yeah, hold it
and,
for a little. Yeah.
They're like weirded out by that.
A lot of people, yeah.
They're like,
they just want a quick dap and that's it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Anyway, back to what I was gonna say about this is this woman Freya. She was saying that this is making it significantly harder for men and women to date. It partly explains the lack of like relationships because, like, worldviews are growing apart. I don't know if there's anything to that because, as my flatmate said, like opposites attract, and you know, I don't know how
Hmm.
much people care about that stuff. But her point was that already with the online dating stuff and all these things, this is even making it more difficult for people to date and have connections.
I think purely speculative, obviously. I don't know the data here, but I would think that it probably doesn't affect the amount of relationships too much. Because I don't think most people actually don't care about this stuff when getting into relationships in the first place. But I think it would probably affect the quality of the relationship down the line. Because a lot of the times when sort of like you have completely different positions, it is indicative of certain sort of just lifestyles and things you value, which I think can cut off sort of like how deep a relationship can go after a
I
certain
see.
point.
So like first date, second date, one night stand, quick like hookup, but not long term.
No, I mean, you can even have like a long-term relationship, but sort of like the quality of the relationship isn't
I
going to be as
see.
good,
I
right?
see.
There's just a certain level of togetherness which you can't cross.
Hmm. Well, that's why I keep my opinions to myself and don't share them with anybody else.
Yeah, or just don't have any opinions. That's better.
Because I don't have a podcast and I don't share my opinions all the time with everybody.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
not
do that.
like you can just find all your opinions on
Uh,
major topics
on YouTube.
online. Yeah.
um, yeah, I really shot myself in the foot there.
Yeah, well.
Um, all right. This is an article that I found from newsscientist.com. This is also from the 23rd, so today. ADHD, the headline is ADHD may have evolved to help foragers know when to cut their losses. Sorry, symptoms of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, such as impulsivity, may have helped foragers and hunter-gatherer communities quickly move on to new areas when food sources were low. Gatherer societies, because what does this say? ADHD may have ADHD may have evolved in gatherer societies because it was advantageous for foragers, according to the results of a new study. Traits that are commonly associated with the conditions such as impulsivity may have encouraged some foragers to move on from areas with depleting resources to more bountiful harvest sooner than those without the condition. Um, I'm not going to read the rest because it's about like, this is interesting. To explore this, Ramakrishnan, David Barak at the University of Pennsylvania and their colleagues recruited 506 people in the U.S. to play an online foraging game. The players were instructed to collect as many berries as they could in 8 minutes by hovering the cursor over bushes. They were given the choice to either stay at a bush or try their luck by leaving for another, which may have more or fewer berries. Moving to a new bush also incurred a brief timeout, so the players had to balance the benefits of potentially getting more berries with the time lost due to moving on. Before playing the game, the participants completed a survey that assessed whether they had ADHD symptoms, such as difficulty concentrating and restlessness. Those with ADHD symptoms had about 4 seconds less hovering over any given bush compared with those without signs of the condition, which resulted in the former group collecting an average of 602 berries compared with 521. So a 80 berry difference. Finding selected pressures facing early hunter-gatherer communities, including a scarcity of food and other resources, may have driven ADHD evolution. All right, let's stop there. What do you think?
Yeah, it's
Conclusive or not?
I think this kind of stuff has been talked about for a while, where a lot of like sort of mental illnesses are if we assume they're sort of like from a lot of the genetic ones, especially their brain states, there's a reason why, they've been the mutation for that specific thing has been evolved. And I mean, it really does hit home, I guess, how we're still monkeys in the end. We're still hunter gatherers. Is our brains and our bodies and everything are adapted to that specific time frame, and we're very ill suited, I guess, for the modern world right now.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do you buy it though? That the kind of, I mean, it's an interesting way of studying it, the online game. I've heard though. I mean, I've heard for a while about like people have said that during hunter gatherer times, people with ADHD were
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I can imagine sort of like because ADHD isn't necessarily like not about having attention at all, from what I understand. It's about having attention on like specific kind of things, because when an ADHD person, does put their attention on like the one
right.
thing, they're the most hyper focused um thing that they can possibly be. It's just that the thing that their attention goes to isn't the one that they want to align, like kind of
Right.
um in the long term with, yeah.
And so, how do you think our modern society has hindered those people in a lot of ways
Um well, because
by pushing them into a box, by forcing them to stay in, a box rather than
well, yeah, it's all sort of society is very structured in like a lot of different ways. I mean, it's like you gotta, there's just like sort of one thing you gotta do, one mold you gotta fit into. I mean, another example of this is sort of like early birds and night owls. Those are different things, and people are just suited to staying better late at night. They work better late at night
I'm one of those
versus,
people.
yeah. And I mean, it has an evolutionary benefit, because when it's night, you need some people to stay up and stay out for predators and like chill and like kind of do
I see.
that kind of thing. But of course, our society is completely structured around early birds and morning people and all that, which isn't ideal.
Unless you work the like you're a news person and you work the like 5 to 7 a.m. gig.
Yeah, I mean, you can still get around that if you want, but again, you're sort of like the exception. You're marginalized a little bit. It definitely makes everything a lot more difficult for you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I too like think about the conveyor belt type of like economy, where everybody's doing one single job,
No, yeah,
and we've moved on to like people doing one thing. And then, the Edinburgh dude, Adam Smith, division of labor,
yeah.
right? Everybody does one thing and stick to their one thing. To me, like that has its benefits to people who can do that, but also like,
But I don't think humans in general are designed to do that
no.
in general, right? We're not
And that's why
designed to stick
robots
to one
and
thing.
AI can do it better than us.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Because you tell them to do a task and they just go boom, 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 boom. And they don't, you know, if you're asking somebody to do the same thing over and over again without like thinking about it in a new way or trying to do something different, humans are not good for that.
No, not at all.
And I guess the question is, how do we do anything about it?
Well, hopefully we get a gradual change to a society which doesn't isn't structured that way to divide labor and um in very specific ways. But yeah, the other thing I was thinking as well with I think a lot of the problems that we have in society are all based on just the fact that our brains and our body are still used to being hunter gatherers. They're wired to be hunter gatherers, and we're using them, I guess, very inappropriately. And sort of anxiety is another situation where it's like that. The whole point of anxiety is like threat detection. When there's like a threat, a saber-toothed tiger comes out, you gotta like run. You gotta get your pulse up, get your adrenaline going, and
Yeah.
get out of there right now. But the problems we face now, it's like, oh, I'm not gonna hand my homework in on time, and then your pulse starts going and everything goes crazy. But like, what are you supposed to do with this? It's due next week. I can't. There's not much you can do about that now.
Yeah.
And I mean, the fact, I think just easy access to dopamine, for instance, that's another thing which is like insane. Just dopamine boosts, reward. The brain is you're supposed to work a lot for your reward, in hunter gatherer times. Just like food, of course, it's supposed to, you need to put in a lot of
Right.
effort to get that boost. But now you can literally have tons of sugar available, like randomly on demand, which is like the most high energy thing possible. And it just mushes your brain's like, no, your brain doesn't know how to, it isn't built to handle this like instant access to all these extremely dopaminergic stuff.
Have you looked into the fasting stuff and like the intermediate fasting and the benefits of that?
Oh yeah, yeah. I try to do like not necessarily intentionally, but I sort of do 18 8 hours I don't eat after 9, and I don't have breakfast, so I technically do a bit of intermittent fasting.
What is you know what the health benefit? Because I've fasted, but it's mainly for like you know like Easter and Christmas, Lent, and that kind of
Right? Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
So it's I mean, what is have you looked into what the health benefits are to that?
Yeah, there are actually quite a lot. So when you're fasting, usually your body gets energy from carbohydrates mostly, but everything else it converts the sugar and carbohydrates to whatever. I don't remember the chemical equation, but after a while, when it runs out of carbohydrates, your body goes into ketosis, where it starts converting fat directly into energy. And being in ketosis for a long time can be extremely beneficial because first of all, it's like gets rid of all the uh like unneeded cells, like damaged cells and all that. Starts like cleaning house on everything, and then it's sort of like it's your body starts getting very efficient, right? Because when you don't have food for a while, your body starts being like, oh shit, what's going on? Something serious. We need to make sure that everything's right on point. And I mean, for me, when I was like looking into fasting, the one thing is you can like your body can start taking energy from your muscles as well, so you might lose muscle growth, but that's only beyond like 2 days, really. Um, Obviously, if you're not too concerned about losing muscle, then it's not a problem.
So if you do it like you what are you supposed to do? You eat in the morning and then don't eat till night?
Well, it depends what kind of thing you're doing. I skip breakfast, for instance, so
Okay.
I eat at like 1. I start eating at 1.
Okay.
But you also can like get a lot sharper focus as well because carbohydrates can cause like sort of the brain fog because all the blood sugars go up. And if you get like, I don't know if you've ever had like just eaten loads of carbohydrates and you just can't concentrate much. Well, whenever you eat a lot, it's you're not ready for work. You need to like chill and relax a second because, of course, for your brain, it's like you've done an important evolutionary good thing. You've eaten a lot. Well done. It's time to
Yeah.
chill. So when you haven't eaten for a while, instead, your brain, your body's kind of like set on like, all right, there's something you need to do, right? There's a reason you're not eating. You need to like wire your brain. And if you kind of like self-impose it, it can definitely help you concentrate.
Cool. Cool. All right. Should we move on to the final story?
Yeah, sure.
All right. This is an interesting, a little bit obscure one, but all right. This is also okay. No, this is from 2 days ago, Wednesday. British Westminster Abbey says to return religious tablet to Ethiopia. The decision to repatriate the wooden tabut comes as a growing number of museums worldwide begin discussing steps to repatriate artworks looted during the colonial era. The Ethiopian artifact is one of a number taken by British soldiers at the Battle of Magdala in 1868. The tablet features a carved inscription symbolically representing the Ten Commandments and the Ark of the Covenant. The container said to have been used to carry the commandments down from Mount Sinai by Moses. Well, the tablet is currently sealed inside an altar at Westminster Abbey. All Ethiopian churches have a covered tablet, which is considered sacrosanct and can only be seen by the priest. The governing body of Westminster Abbey has decided this is key, has decided in principle
Mm.
that it would be appropriate to return the Ethiopian tablet to the
That's
Ethiopian
worded
service.
very stepping on eggshells.
Yeah, yeah. Most of the items were plundered by the British Army after defeated Emperor Theodros II in the Magdala battle in what was then Abyssinia. What else do we got? In 2020, the museum service in the Scottish city of Glasgow returned 6 items looted from temples and shrines in northern India in the 1800s. Over 70 pieces, including 12 Benin bronzes, were returned to Nigeria in 2020 by the Honima Museum in London, while Germany and France have also returned bronzes. And of course, there's the pieces of the Parthenon.
Oh yeah, you gotta get yeah.
Uh,
What I
that
want to know is when are the French gonna return all the paintings that Napoleon looted from Italy, right? The Mona Lisa and all the Leonardo's. When is that happening?
that's a
You
good
know?
question. That's a good question. So, I mean, the purpose of me putting the story in was really to go beyond just this individual case, because I think the bigger question is, right? Should countries that steal stuff or loot stuff or take stuff hundreds of years ago have a duty now to return them? Because the question I don't think is it morally right, or is it morally good for them to return them? Because I think most people would agree that morally it's better to return them.
Yeah.
The question is, do they have a duty to return them?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, if it's morally good, surely there is like at least a duty somewhat. I think kind of the more the elements is more like kind of in the practical aspects because well, I think a lot of the times it's like the countries that you're returning them to, like unfortunately the government is very corrupt, and when they get them, they're not gonna treat them well. They're gonna like sell them off, immediately, and that's kind of sort of the reason why you wouldn't do it a lot. I think again in theory, like yes, obviously it's better for a country to have their own artifacts in their own museums. Um, but yeah, in practice it can get a little difficult. I mean, with the Parthenon case specifically, the Elgin marbles, right? I mean, yeah, that's obviously it'd be nice to have the Elgin marbles all in one place and all that. But
Hey, Richie Sunak, give them back now.
yeah, I don't know. To be fair, those weren't even looted. Those were bought by Lord Elgin. They were bought fair and square. And you know what? After Lord Elgin bought them,
But from the Turkish.
from the Turkish, it's true. But right afterwards,
Fuck the Turkish.
whoa, this can't go on the podcast.
No, just kidding. The Ottomans are the ones that I have beef with, not Turkish. I have plenty of Turkish friends who are gonna hate me for this, but
But right after Lord, this is a funny thing. But right after Lord Elgin bought the marbles, like the Parthenon was just put to disrepair. Like no one was looking at it, and then I think the Ottomans used it to store gunpowder.
Yeah.
And then of course I think this is where a good old Venetian, I don't remember the name of the person, but decided it would be a good idea to shoot a cannonball in there, and well, kaboom. Yeah, that's why the Parthenon is completely damaged now because of that. And had Lord Elgin not bought the marbles, they would have been completely destroyed. And he was like a philanthropist, and he was doing it not just because he wanted like it would look good in his living room or something. It's because when he went there, he was shocked at the state that the Parthenon was being kept, and he knew that it was gonna be it was gonna be obviously didn't foresee exactly the one Venetian blowing up the entire Parthenon, but something of that nature happening. So there, you should be grateful. The Greeks should be grateful to the British.
Yeah, okay, but now it's time to.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I remember last time we went to the Parthenon, though, there was like it was the reconstruction was very bad. They literally like had to reconstruct it twice, and they kept on getting it wrong and like made it worse than it was before and everything. Like, can we really trust the Greeks with the with the marbles?
I will say this: really haven't been following this, but apparently, Greece's economy is doing a lot better now. So what they're saying on Twitter, I have really not been following at all, but apparently, like it's back on track, and startups are really big in Greece. So somebody was like gonna have to fact check that on me, but I mean, look, I think you made a great point. Mona Lisa, bring it back to what is that? What's that city with the statue of David?
Florence.
Florence.
Yeah.
Because isn't Da Vinci from Florence? Is he from
I
Rome?
might have to fact check that. No, he's not from Rome. Definitely, he's from the north. I'm pretty sure.
From Milan?
No, I think he's Florence. I think he's from Florence. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's from Florence. Well, he was in Florence in Assassin's Creed 2, the video game, so
No,
I'm sure that's where he was
was
from.
born in Anciano.
Oh, I actually don't know where that is. That must be some random city. Well, he definitely lived in Florence and in Venice.
Near Vinci.
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 Oh, that would make sense. Da Vinci means from Vinci, literally. So.
In the Republic of Florence. There you go.
Yeah.
So. He died in France though. So maybe that's why I went to the Mona Lisa.
No, that was because Napoleon looted it.
Napoleon
in the
looted
Italian campaigns. Yeah.
Where else did he loot from?
Like half the Louvre is. No, I don't know half the Louvre, but like a substantial amount of Italian art.
You know what should have happened is when the Russians beat him, they should have taken the art and taken it back.
You know that the most crazy thing, this shows how spineless Italy is. No, I'm using it half ironically, but you know, like an Italian actually stole the Mona Lisa from France and was gonna bring it back to Italy. And the Italians like found it out and just gave the Mona Lisa back.
Really?
Yeah.
When was this?
I don't know. I don't remember. But yeah, that's crazy. Spineless Italian governments, you know, they should have kept the Mona Lisa and, you know, fastened the weapon.
All right. Side note: since you're here, what is the best city to visit in Italy?
In Italy, well,
and you can't say Milan.
No, I'm from Milan, obviously, but it is a very underrated city. I think most people look over it, but definitely not the best one. I mean, you know, Venice is obviously really beautiful.
It's too touristy.
That's the main problem. It is just a tourist city now. It's kind of sad. There's like nobody lives there anymore. The entire city is just tourists, and obviously it's extremely busy during the time of day, during most times in the year. But it is well worth visiting. It's one of those cities, I think, where it's like, it's sort of like, you know, a lot of the times you see pictures of cities and you see like kind of the city as it's advertised, and you're like, no way, this is actually real. And when you get there, it's like it's not quite. It's embellished.
Yeah.
But Venice is literally like exactly like what is advertised. You know, there's no discrepancy there.
All right. So I mean, but
except for Venice, though, I'd probably say probably Rome. Probably Rome.
Rome.
Yeah.
One of my friends, Mario. I don't know if you're there. He. I don't know if he still is, but he used to be a tour guide in Rome. Yeah, really good person contact to know. But
yeah, definitely a lot of stuff to go there. I mean, I love in Rome. I mean, you have this in Athens as well a little bit, but you know, where you just walk randomly through the street and then you stumble onto some 3,000-year-old. You know, I do love that quite a lot. Yeah.
So, north or south of Italy?
Well, I'm from the north, so obviously I'll be
the north.
A little biased when I say that. I'd go with the north. I mean, I haven't been to the south all too much, but of course the south, much better food in the south. I'll happily admit that.
Really?
Yeah. A lot of beautiful.
But the wine is better
in
than the
culture
north.
And north. Yeah, the wine is better than the north. Yeah.
I did it. The only time I've been to Italy, I did a driving trip. I started in Amsterdam, drove through Germany, then Austria, and then Italy. And we did Venice, Florence, Rome. I think my favorite was Florence, actually.
Yeah, Florence is very, very nice. It's I think one of the only cities that still sort of like maintains its like medieval aspect.
Yeah.
Despite it's all modernized, you know, cars go through and everything, but it's still like a medieval city. You know, all the architecture, the streets, and everything. It's still medieval, and that's very cool. And I mean, obviously, the amount of like museums and all that is like crazy.
Yeah, I mean, David is insane.
Yeah.
David. Do you consider the Vatican part of Rome, or is it its own thing?
No, I mean, that's part of Rome, yeah.
Part of Rome, yeah. What's the deal with the Pope? You know, he's...
What about the woke Pope? No, I don't really know enough about it. I know some people complain, yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, anyway, we had one question. I don't know if anybody's put in since. Sorry if I didn't get to it. We'll answer it as soon as I end this live stream. But the question was, what is the best thing ever? The best thing in the world? And my answer is pretty boring, so I'll let you go first. Or maybe I'll just go first and give you more time. God. God. You know, it's a little bit of a cop-out.
That's interesting. I was thinking of something similar, you know, because I was thinking, what's the best thing in the world? Well, you've got to go with like the precondition for every other single good thing. So like the universal. And I was gonna go say life instead.
Life.
Life is the best thing. Just the act of being alive. Your life. Incredible.
Do you believe in an afterlife?
No, I don't think I do.
No. So you think it's the end after this?
Yeah, probably. You know, I can't know for certain, but I would rather live my life thinking that it was the end, to be honest, because in my view, if you live your life always constantly looking at like, if you view your life as sort of like a test for the greater afterlife that's coming afterwards, it devalues your current life. And I want to, you know, the way I see it, I want to live my life as good in and of itself, as the best thing possible,
Carpe
ever
diem?
in and of itself. Yeah, I guess it's related.
All right. Well, that does it, my friend.
Of
This
course.
is about an hour. I'll actually I'm not gonna end the video, but I'll end the live stream. All right. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel. Let us get to 1,000.
Of course.
500 is the first step. 500 is the first step. Actually, 200 is the first step. But
Wait, do you already get like a plaque when it's 1,000? Nah, probably not.
no, but you 500 is the first mark to get paid,
Okay.
and then 1,000 is like you get more benefits.
Mm.
So yeah, let's get to 1,000. Let's get to 500 first. Let's get to 200 first, and then let's get to 5,000.
Incremental steps, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah. I mean, I'm assuming once people hear about it, it'll be the biggest thing ever.
Of course, of course.
Yeah. But anyway, thanks you guys for listening. Check out the website too if you feel like it. You can sign up and get emails when I release an episode, and I also upload some other stuff to there. So yeah, www.theathleano.show, and William's page is on there, so you can find more out about William on the Honorable Host. So yeah, take care everybody, and good night.
Goodbye.